Hello, everyone, and welcome to PressThis, the WordPress community podcast on WMR. This is your host, David Vogelpohl. I support the WordPress community through my role at WP Engine, and I love to bring the best of the community to you here every week on PressThis. As a reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at WPDavidV. You can subscribe to PressThis on Red Circle, iTunes, Spotify, or download the latest episodes at WMR.fm. As a reminder, you can check out the WP Engine Agency Virtual Ignite series. This month, we'll be featuring strategies on reselling to agency clients. If you'd like to register for that virtual event, please visit litturl.co/ignite. All right, for this week's episode, I'm really happy to really address this conversation. It's always a hot topic in WordPress, and that's how WordPress SEO is changing. And joining us for that conversation is someone who knows a little bit about that from Rank Math. I'd like to welcome Bhanu Ahuwalia to PressThis. Bhanu, welcome.
Thanks a lot, David, for having me and this small introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. For those listening, what Bhanu is going to cover today is his thoughts on where he thinks SEO is going, particularly WordPress SEO, what technologies and techniques are folks getting good at today in order to keep pace with the future, and how you can think about your WordPress SEO strategy in the future. So, Bhanu, I'm going to start by asking you the same question I ask every guest. Could you tell me briefly your WordPress origin story? When was the first time you used WordPress?
Yeah, definitely. So it was just after I completed my engineering in 2009. I completed my engineering and I was stumbling on online how to earn money. And then I stumbled upon WordPress. Initially, I was using Blogger, but when I started using WordPress, I realized that it is much more expandable, and it was much more fun to work with that. And then from 2009 till 2012, we ran very successful blogs using WordPress. We were among me and my partner were using the Google AdSense to earn the money, and we were among the premium publishers. So premium publishing is something that is being offered only to few people in the that are using Google AdSense. So we were driving huge traffic, somewhere around 5 to 10 million, 5 to 7 million visitors every month through search engines. So we were harnessing the power of SEO during that time. And then in 2012, we also realized that there was not enough blogging themes out there that would cater to the needs of just bloggers. So we launched a company called My Theme Shop, and while we were running My Theme Shop, we also realized that the SEO plugins were not that good enough for us, at least. So we developed something internally, and then later in 2018 we launched Rank Math to everyone. And so it has been quite a long journey with WordPress, and we have really enjoyed it so far.
So 2009, you said you kind of got started with Blogger. Did you immediately start? You said you got your engineering degree, but did you immediately start building sites for yourself, or did you start working for clients like in a freelance or agency capacity?
Initially, I was working for myself and also for the clients. But when we are talking about clients, I was working exclusively at that time for Smashing Magazine. I was promoting their articles on a huge social media platform back then, and stumbled upon and driving traffic to that. So that was I wasn't entirely working for myself during that time.
Gotcha. But you eventually went on to kind of build up these blogging sites that were very popular. I love how you said you were looking up ways to make money online. I'm like, you're the person that found the way and like made a whole thing out of it. Maybe not one person, but it was funny thinking about like ads that talk about that. But in 2009, this would have been right before custom post types, kind of, I feel like really changed WordPress. Did you feel that at the time, or were you too early in your blogging journey that custom post types just didn't mean much to you in 2010 when it came out?
To be honest, I mean, I did not know much about the development of WordPress at that time. My entire focus was on running the successful blogs, driving the traffic to that. And the only thing that concerned me was the uptime of the website and the plugins that I was using. That was it. So I wasn't much aware of the custom post types when they were introduced to everyone back then.
Yeah, that would have been really early on for you if you started in 2009. So
Yeah.
I could see where you had not advanced enough at that point to really be into it. But really interesting to think about what's happening in WordPress and when people are coming in. But now maybe we could kind of move on a little bit here. You mentioned that you all founded Rank Math. Could you just briefly tell the audience what Rank Math does and what your role with Rank Math is?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, when we were running our own WordPress theme shop, we noticed that several users, and including us, uh, all the old SEO plugins that were in the market, they were not evolving as much as Google was evolving. And then we were looking at the GitHub repositories. We were seeing that several requests were turned down or were not getting implemented, maybe because the vision that the other companies had were not aligned with what the requests were getting put up. So we developed a plugin internally in 2015. That was the first time that RankMath was developed. So we used the plugin successfully on our shop and the theme shop, and also on our various blogs. And when we realized that we have built something very helpful, not just for us, but maybe we can release that to everyone, that was the time when we started cleaning up the code, making it more usable, and focused much more on UI, UX. And then we launched the plugin in 2018, late 2018. And since then, in less than 3.5 years, we have gained over 1.4 million active installations on WordPress.org. And one of the things that I really want to mention, and we feel very proud of it, that we have not spent anything on the paid marketing as of now. Everything that we have gained is through word of mouth marketing and through what the users feel about our products.
Excellent. So it sounds like for you, it really was born out of this need for your own publishing business. And then
Yeah.
as you started to form it more into an external product, you're effectively able to take the lessons from your publishing business and apply it in this product sense. And that's great to hear about your success without having to market it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I mean, we were, because I mean, we were ending up installing like several plugins just to get over with our technical SEO needs on our website, and it was getting really problematic for us to keep up with all the updates and from various developers. You know how it works. It was getting very problematic. So we developed something for ourselves, but uh, we are very happy that what we developed not only just help us, but is also being loved by several thousand people out there.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thinking about it then from like your publishing background and now kind of into the SEO product realm, I'm sure like many listening, even myself, you have like this history of SEO and thinking about like what's happened in the past, what's here to stay, maybe what's going to happen in the future. And I kind of like to get to know a little bit more about what you think the pillars are of WordPress SEO that will be here to stay. But we're going to take our first break and we'll be right back.
Time to plug into a commercial break. Stay tuned for more Press This in just a moment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Press This, the WordPress community podcast on WMR. We're in the middle of interviewing Bhanu Ahuwalia about how WordPress SEO is changing. Although, Bhanu, I want to kind of switch it up and ask you first about what's here to stay. Like, are we going to still have be worried about meta titles in the future? Like, what do you think of the pillars of SEO now that will continue to be true in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, SEO has evolved a lot since we started, and we are seeing that Google is getting smarter, maybe because their data set is getting larger and larger every day. They have been collecting this user data of searches and what users like. So what we have noticed that schema markup also a few people know that by the name of rich snippets. We are seeing then they are going to stay, because the reason for that is that Google wants to strengthen their data set much further to what they currently have, and schema markup is something that is helping them directly in understanding what the page is about, what the content is about, and if what they from their data sets are perceiving about the page is matching with the schema markup that is being provided by the users. And if that is the case, they know that what they have developed internally and what they have collected internally is really strong. So
Do you think they're, I'm
Mhm.
pardon for interrupting, but it sounds like what you're saying is you feel like schema's here. And I think the counter argument to that is, but yeah, they'll figure out the context with artificial intelligence and whatnot. It sounds like what you're saying
Yes.
is you're not dismissing the latter, that you're just saying you believe they'll continue to use it in combination with schema.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, schema, at least for some time, it is going to stay. And by some time, I must mention that it could be somewhere around 5 years or 7 years, because again, Google is evolving way too much, and with the advent of AI, as you just mentioned, I mean, things are changing way too rapidly. But when we are talking about schema and the on-page SEO, that is going to stay for long, because uh, it was there when we started back in 2009. It is still here, and we strongly believe it is going to stay, because no matter what happens, AI will definitely need the assistance of the humans to help the engine understand better what the content is about.
What other pillars do you think are here to stay? I mean, content is king, backlinks, any other like mainstays of SEO that you think folks should continue to invest in?
See, backlinks is something very uh, something that a person cannot control on their own, because usually people have to end up building the links unless they are well known in the industry and they are a brand on their own. So yeah, backlinks is something Google is dismissing, because we keep on testing new websites to see what is working with SEO or not, and we are seeing that if we are able to make strong internal links, also the structure of the website is good, along with definitely the content, we are able to rank the articles much sooner without any external backlinks. So backlinks does play a role, but unless you have a brand which is huge, or you have a budget to spend, which is kind of illegal according to Google's TOS. So those things are going to stay. But if your content is good, where the AI again comes into play with the GPT-3, because now you can also generate the content on the fly very quickly. But again, that is not perfect as of now, so you have to still edit the content. So those things are here, what we are seeing in the coming future.
So we talked earlier about how search engines are leveraging, things like artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
different techniques and technologies and research. What do you think is happening with search engines themselves that will change how we optimize sites in the future? Like you just hit on even today is like internal linking, good site structure, better or maybe stronger even than external links. But what
Mhm.
else is happening that you think will change how we optimize sites in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, for that we have to understand what's the main motive of Google. The Google really wants that when a person is searching on their website, they get to know, they get to the result very fast, which satisfies the intent. So we great content is something that will never change. You have to, but at the same point of time, you have to ensure that you are satisfying the intent of the search right off the bat, rather than writing 3 4 paragraphs of random BS and then coming to the point. That is not going to work. And you might have also noticed that Google is now utilizing rich snippets much more as opposed to what it was 5 years back. The reason for that is Google really wants the users to find what they are looking right in the uh, search box right on that page rather than visiting a website. So you have to write the content in a way that you answer the question right away, and then also add some sort of a statement so that the users feel enticed to click on that result and come to your website. And then from there are several things, like you have to ensure that your website loads really fast, because everyone is moving over to mobile, and the mobile data is not as efficient as the broadband that we use on our laptop. So you have to ensure that your website is loading really fast, it is usable, it is easy to read, and you are not bombarding your users with tens of ads above the fold and then writing the content. So those are the things from the usability point of view that you have to ensure, along with the speed of the website, that you are always ensuring that you have a check mark on your website if you're optimizing for SEO.
So it sounds like one thing that's staying the same in your view is Google's motive, which is to get searchers the answers fast. But it sounds like they're getting better about understanding the intent of the searcher and whether the content will answer the searcher's query. And so instead of maybe like, I don't know, regurgitating a bunch of keyword rich copy and betting on that to hopefully get you ranked, it sounds like you're making the case that because Google's getting smarter about what your copy means and whether it answers these questions that the users are searching for, that really focusing more on doing a good job of that is maybe one change that people need to embrace now and in the future. Is that fair?
Yeah. So
in other words, thinking more about the content as like someone's asking a question and I need to answer the question right away, rather than telling a longer narrative stuffed with keywords.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the case back then as well. But now the reason that is much more important, as you mentioned, that they are utilizing various tools like AI to understand the intent. But at the same point of time, you have to know that more than 70% of the searches that happen every day are never being searched before. So people are searching for new things every day. So as long as you are fulfilling the intent of the user and also ensuring that they come over to your website, you are going to get traffic from Google. And then from there on, once the visitor is on your website, it is a whole another story for optimizing for the conversions and ensuring that you get to know more about your customer and the visitors so that you can bring them back again to your website.
Yeah. So again, obviously a mainstay of SEO, right, which is converting the visitor once you get them. But to your point on, mobile, and obviously its rise in terms of the share of web traffic, performance is obviously super critical. And then, we've of course seen indications from Google and others that it plays a role in how they rank websites. Which is obviously another aspect of SEO that folks have to keep in mind these days. All right, so I want to talk about folks who are at the cutting edge of SEO. I'm just wondering what those at the cutting edge are up to these days. But we're going to take our last break and we'll be right back.
Time to plug into a commercial break. Stay tuned for more Press This in just a moment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Press This, the WordPress community podcast on WMR. This is your host, David Vogelpohl. We're in the middle of talking about how WordPress SEO is changing with Bhanu Ahuwalia. Bhanu, right before the break, we were talking a little bit about how search engines are changing and how people should be thinking about optimization differently. I'm just curious, though, for those at the cutting edge of SEO, like what are they doing? What are they looking at? What are they pushing the envelope on? What are the non-standard SEO techniques that are getting you excited?
Yeah, so I mean, first of everything, we all have to understand that SEO is not something that what is working for me will also work for someone else. It is not that simple. But at the same point of time, what we have noticed is that applying the 80-20 rule has always been a success for almost all the SEO marketers out there. So what I mean by that is that you got to ensure that you are optimizing the 20% of your content, which is bringing 80% of the traffic to your website. what people usually do is that they start optimizing everything on their website, which is not something very fruitful, and the ROI is low. But what you got to do is head into your Google Analytics and then see which pages are bringing most of the traffic to your website, and then start optimizing. And by optimizing, I mean to say that ensure that the pages are loading really fast to the users. You can use the lazy loading if that is needed. Then utilizing the AI, and for that, just a few months back, we launched the Content AI for Rank Math, where users can utilize the power of AI into their content. We suggest the users how to write the content, what things should be added to the content in the heading, in the title, or in the meta descriptions, and then which pages to link out to, and what sort of FAQs to be included. So harness those things along with the site optimization. Those are the things that we usually see people do when they are already getting traffic, and they have implemented almost everything else on their website.
So it sounds like one of the cutting edge things folks are doing, we've seen success from this in a variety of industries, but it sounds like it's combining things like artificial intelligence with kind of human guided recommendation or edits, if you will. Or do you feel like folks are using those AI tools and then editing the content? Or do you think folks are, I know we had the founder of Birth AI on PressThis a while back, and he said their whole homepage is written by bots. But what do you think? People are like editing the suggestions by the AIs?
Yeah, I mean, what we have noticed that you still must edit what the AI has written, because sometimes the output that the AI gives is not very useful to the users. Because see, at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, you have to ensure that you are fulfilling the intent of the users, and they are not there to read just random bullshit on your page written by some bot, which does not make sense to them. Otherwise, they'll go back and they won't be coming back to your website, and then that is also being tracked by Google. And if that they see that the behavior is very common with your website, they are going to ensure that your pages are not shown up in the search pages. So if you are using the AI tools to write the content, you have always should interfere and ensure that everything that has been output by the AI is up to the mark. If not, write that on your own, because now you have an idea of what to write about.
Yeah, now that's a sound advice. I know a lot of people see those tools and they're like, oh, I can crank out web pages, no problem. And I think you can, but it's best to obviously read and edit and make sure it's in the right voice and makes sense. But check out Bertha.ai. Like I said, their whole homepage was written. It is shocking how good it is these days. Sweet. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bhanu.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was great chatting with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to learn more about what Bhanu's up to, please visit rankmath.com. Thanks everyone for listening to PressThis, the WordPress community podcast on WMR. Again, this has been your host, David Vogelpohl. I support the WordPress community through my role at WP Engine, and I love to bring the best of the community to you here every week on PressThis.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of WebmasterRadio.fm's management or sponsors. Any rebroadcast or redistribution without authorized consent of WebmasterRadio.fm is prohibited.